So, the first story we're going to cover here, it's a sad one, guys. If you like puppies and you like cats, then just skip ahead until you hear me talk about beams in the sky. But if you don't like puppies, or cats, I love puppies and cats. And this is actually, I read this story and I honestly thought it was fake. I thought it was a moral panic. I was like, there's no way this is going on. If it is going on, it's on a very, very limited scale. When I first saw the headlines, I'm linking around. I'm like, I don't believe this. I don't believe this is actually happening. But it is. So what happened was, let's make it a personal story real quick. So there is a woman named Heather, can't pronounce her last name, Perriera. It doesn't matter. There's this girl named Heather. She lived in Kentucky. She brought her puppy into the vet, and she's like, I don't know what happened to my dog. He has these cuts on him. And the vet's like, oh my God, like he must have really got scraped by something. She's like, yeah, he's been in a lot of pain. Do you have any tramadol? That has helped him in the past. And the vet's like, yeah, sure. I give him some tramadol and bandage him up. And okay. Well, then a while later, she comes back with her dog after a period of time and says, oh, my dog, look at these cuts. It got cut again. That's like, oh my, like, you're right. Look at these. Ooh, these cuts look incredibly straight. They don't look like they would have come from, like, an animal. Yeah, my dog got cut. That's the bottom line. Do you have any tramadol for my dog? Yeah, sure. The vet gives the dog some tramadol. This happened 3 times, and eventually the vet was like, okay, something's up. These cuts look like they were made deliberately. They don't look like it was a raccoon, was like, came at him. Doesn't look like he, was walking on some rusty stuff. They looked very straight. Call the cops. Cops investigate her. They grab Heather, and she admits that she was cutting the dog with a razor blade, giving him cuts on his tummy or cuts on his back, wherever, and then taking him to the vet and saying, my dog's been injured. I need tramadol. Now, you read that and you hear that and you're like, that's just, the woman went to jail. And she'd done it at another clinic, too. You're like, okay, Jason, that's a one-off story. I can see an addict doing that. Not an addict. An addict doing that. And that's kind of where I was at in this story. I was like, I'm sure there's one example of somebody doing this. CDC actually this year released a letter. So the Center for Disease Control and Prevention said, we believe this is an ongoing issue. We believe that people are purposely injuring their pets for opioids. Not only that, people think that they're taking other people's pets, injuring them, and taking them to the vet. So for the addict who doesn't have a pet, they will steal your pet and be like, oh, this dog, look he has a broken leg. And the guy will be like, oh my God, what's his name? And they're like, looking around the room. His name's Labcoat. Yeah, he needs pain medication. So again, you're like, moral panic. They did a study in Colorado, and they asked vets this question. 13% of owners of vet clinics said that they believed that people were making their animals ill or lying about the animal's illness to get opioids. So 13% of the veterinarians who took part in the survey were like, yeah, we think this is an actual issue. We think this is going on. And even a higher amount said, we think that someone in our staff may be taking opioids. See, the problem is that there's only 2 opioids right now that are made specifically, or they're like FDA approved for use in animals. So they have to use human opioids. So they're using normal stuff. So they've said, the CDC says, listen, veterinarians need to be aware of the signs of drug-seeking bennies is the term. Drug-seeking beneficiaries. It's basically people who game the system to get their drugs. Now, a lot of times people do it in their medical, like, oh man, I walk into the doctor, I'm like, I hurt my wrist and I have no injury at all, or maybe I injured it myself or whatever. I'm like, oh, can I get some 800 milligram? And generally they know the brand names like right off the bat. That's a sign. Also, they look like drug addicts, but not everyone who's addicted to drugs looks like a drug addict. So one of the signs is you walk in and you just start talking about, oh yeah, can I get, 800 milligrams of 389s, and I want the pink pills, not the yellow circles. And maybe they're not that obvious about it, but. So we've seen people do that for their medical conditions. Animals are basically trained to love you and trust you. And if you're injuring them to get your drugs, there's something extra despicable about that. And the worst part is some people just go in and say, my dog can't eat, my dog can't do that, and they'll lie. But if you're actually injuring the animals, and then you're taking the drugs, the animal's injured and doesn't get the drugs. Horrible. So they'll have to figure something out. And they were going on to say they're looking at alternative treatment for animals. So you're not necessarily giving them opioids. It may be something that they start restricting it like they do with humans, where they're like, yeah, his paws hurt, but, you know, just give him some Tylenol or something like that. And they're like, no, you know, if the dog has cancer or something, you're like, yeah, we'll give him, he can go home with a bag of heroin for all we care. He's cancer. He's going to die. But they're trying to look at alternative remedies for pets. And they can't really meditate, but, you know, just other health things. It's funny, I went and saw my doctor the other day. Hadn't seen her in a year and a half. And we were talking, I told her about the podcast, and she's like, oh, that's really cool. And I was like, oh yeah, Dead Rabbit Radio, check it out. It's like really blowing up. It's a lot of fun and all that stuff. And then I've just started recently listening to the podcast over again. Because I record the episode, and I know everything that's coming, so I'm always like, ugh, you know. So I wait, and I do this one with my writing and everything too. I tend to wait till I've kind of forgotten what it was about before I go back and revisit it. And I'm listening, I started back on episode 1, and I'm on like episode 8 or 9, and I'm like, my doctor, she doesn't prescribe me anything. She's always trying to tell me to do this alternative medicine, and I can buy bungo root on my own time. I'm coming to you because I need an antibiotic. And then I was like, oh yeah, I totally forgot that I did that episode, and then I just recommended her to listen to it. So, sorry, doc. It's funny, you get to an age where you're older than your doctor. I'm at that age now. She has to probably be in her late 20s, early 30s. So I'm much older than her. That's just an aside. So, but yeah, what my doctor's trying to do with me is saying, let's look at these alternative, you're having digestive issues, why don't you try milk thistle or whatever. They kind of want to move away. If you have a temporary problem, they don't want to give you something that they feel is going to cause a problem later. So that's the thing. So I think that's what you're going to see doctors do with animals. They're going to say, yes, he has a broken leg, but we could give him a pill that'll make him feel happy and just take naps all the time. But because people are abusing this, we can't do that. We don't want to add to this problem. So here's some alternative methods to deal with your dog's pain. And it absolutely sucks. It absolutely sucks that these poor little puppies and cats and turtles. And I wonder if there's painkillers for fish. Do fish even feel pain? And if so, are there painkillers can you just like squirt painkillers into the water? But yeah, you know, they're just going to have to figure out other ways to treat this, because this 13% that they found in Colorado, we could say probably a fair assessment is 5% nationwide could be dealing with this issue. 5% of vets could be having people coming in with this stuff. And that's a huge amount for people. So if they just say, we're not prescribing pain medication anymore unless your cat has a tumor, then that can help stop that route and stop sickos like this woman here from hurting her poor little puppy. The dog went to another family and has not had any razor blade incidents since. So, horrible stuff. That was a clip from our daily podcast, Dead Rabbit Radio. Dead Rabbit Radio is available anywhere that you listen to podcasts. It's daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime news. If you want to hear the full episode that this clip came from, check the link below. Please like and subscribe. And hit that little bell, too. That does some magical stuff. Thanks, guys.